exception. Using Python can be tricky. Even with PyCharm, it's pretty tough to spot everything that's wrong with your code. Even after painstakingly checking every line, there's still a possibility for your code to fail, especially if it's a coding project involving other people. As soon as Python encounters an error while running the code, it stops executing it. An exception will then be raised. An exception is an object which tells you about the problem you encountered. It also provides a traceback, which tells you specifically where you made a blunder in your code. Think of exceptions as a guidance counselor. It listens intently to each line that you write and then helps you understand what the problem is. They can also help you retrace the roots of your issues. Python has a lot of different built-in exceptions that describe all sorts of problems. Let's talk about some exceptions that we may encounter in our program. Then, we'll learn how to throw and handle them. First, let's use the raise keyword. This keyword lets us throw an exception. This means that we can use it to define the error we'd like to raise and what text will be printed on the console. For example, we don't want any negative values. We can use the raise keyword like so. All programmers, beginners and experts alike, are well acquainted with the syntax error. This error occurs when the code is not written correctly. In this example, we forgot to add a colon, so we get a syntax error. On the console, a caret indicates exactly where we went wrong. We can also make assertions in Python. These are Boolean expressions that make sure that the conditions return true. We can set conditions and assert that they should be met. If the condition turns out to be false, this could lead to an assertion error. The assert statement can also be used as a debugging tool. That's because it stops the program as soon as an error occurs. In this case, since we also asserted that Suzanne is Employee of the Year, we get an assertion error. Dividing by 0 leads to a zero division error. Remember the type error? Now that we've learned about different kinds of exceptions we may encounter, let's discuss how we can handle them. In Python, we use the try and except block to spot and handle exceptions. We can test our code using the try block to ensure that there are no errors. If we encounter an exception, we will need to handle it using the except block. Otherwise, our program will crash. We need to use the except statement to determine how our program will respond to the exception. Finally, we have the finally block. This allows us to run our code no matter what the result of the try and except block is. This code results in a name error. That's because random variable is not defined. Let's use the try and except block. You can try to anticipate whatever might go wrong with your code. You can define as many exception blocks for any type of error you may encounter. Here's an example. Since these are conditional statements, we can use the else keyword too. The finally block will run our code even if there's an error. And that's it for exceptions. In this lesson, we learned about throwing exceptions, handling exceptions, and the try, except, else, and finally blocks.